So far. It's your boy, the Honorable Soft-Spoken Shaman. It's been a long day here. Been a very long day here, but it's all good. Friday night, doing the stream kind of impromptu. First things first, if you appreciate the content, make sure you are subscribed and make sure you hit that notification button. If you want to leave a comment, if you want a response to a question or a comment, make sure you leave a super chat. And thesoftspokenshaman@gmail.com is the place to get in touch with me. If you got a question or something, you want to reach out for whatever reason, you want to check out my books, that is the place to do it. So, first things first, in 2025, one of the delicacies of this channel, one of the things that I really do enjoy talking about is just, you read things in the news or you see things online of strange things that people do that are endemic to people losing their minds, right? Just, the silent weapon at work, the clamping down that everybody feels in society right now. Inflation obviously is the one that most people can actually consciously recognize, but all the other factors that just contribute to this overbearing stress that everybody feels, this kind of, it's overbearing, but it's also like a low hum, like it's nagging, but it's not overbearing. It's kind of like you can tolerate it, but it's messing your system up. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about a silent weapon. So I like finding instances of things that people do that show they're losing their mind. In one instance, this happened back in 2023, but the woman was just sentenced to prison. So this happened either in Kansas or Missouri. I can't remember which one. It was a 44-year-old woman. She had set fire to a house with 3 people in it. They don't know, the authorities didn't release if she actually knew these people or what the relation was. Obviously, I would imagine if you set fire to somebody's house, you probably know them in some degree, or at least one of them. So this 44-year-old woman, she was caught on surveillance camera going to a neighborhood gas station to buy $2 worth of gas. Now, who the hell puts $2 in their gas tank? Nobody does. So obviously she brought a little gas can with her to fill that up with probably what was a little less than a gallon of gas. And she bought a bag of Takis, tortilla, hot chips, whatever. And so she goes back to the house and she's got like tinder and kindling or whatever, an accelerant and the gas. And so because she knows the Takis are just filled with grease, she in her head goes, well, these are gonna light really easy. So you have to admire the ingenuity. Instead of going to Walmart and buying one of those little fire starter blocks, it's probably even cheaper just to get a little dollar bag of Takis. There you go. What a genius. I don't condone what she did, but I do think it's funny. Not the fact that 3 people almost lost their lives. That's not funny. But what's funny is just like, what is going on in this woman's mind? So she lights the Takis on fire and then she drops it, onto the accelerant and tinder and kindling or whatever. And of course, the house goes up in an inferno, And thankfully, the 3 people who were in the house got out with minor injuries. So that's good. But she was sentenced to 12 years in prison. And I'm sure she was probably sweating bullets. I'm sure she's probably happy that nobody died because, well, she probably would have gone away for about 25 or 30 years if somebody had lost their life, if not more. But 12 years, man, that's a long time to think about what you did. That's a long time to think about those Takis. And I don't know if you can buy Takis from commissary. Probably not. Probably maybe some generic version or something. But, man, those Takis are going to be haunting her dreams forever. But I love instances like that, stories of just people doing maladaptive things, because it reminds you of when you go to the zoo and you see the animals, and sometimes the animals seem like they're chill, or whatever, but other times you'll see certain animals that are just freaking out. They're crashing out, because they're in an unnatural environment. And you see with these instances like what I just talked about, it's like a glass menagerie, an invisible, translucent zoo that we're all in. And you just seeing people crashing out, losing their mind. Road rage incidents. I saw a video on TikTok the other day where a woman was driving erratically. She almost hit somebody. And then she stops, gets out the car, and initiates a road rage incident. And then she did it to the wrong person because the person got out the car and basically clotheslined her. She ended up falling on the black ice, and she learned her lesson real quick. And then a brother got out of a car nearby. He said, "Man, don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that again. You don't know what people are packing. You don't know what who you're approaching." And he's right. You have no clue. And that's the other thing is when you live in this invisible zoo with other human beings and everybody's keyed up, everybody's stressed out, everybody's feeling the pinch of inflation and everything else. And everybody just doesn't want to deal with people. You don't know what other people are capable of. You have no clue. You could walk up to a person who's normally super chill, super meek, and you get them on the wrong day. And now, you are inhabiting a pine box 6 feet under the ground. You never know. And I mean, that's just famous last words, Famous last words. But, I remember a time where you used to really have to hunt for these stories of people just doing crazy stuff, people losing their minds. Now I have to say in 2025, it's so prevalent. You don't even really have to do that much fancy footwork on the search engine. Literally just type in crazy jail story and you'll see, a woman poisoning her, rich doctor husband's coffee with Visine, teardrops or whatever, or poisonings, anything like that. I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but you don't have to really work hard to see the crazy things people are doing nowadays. And it's just a sign. It's not only a sign of the times, but it's a sign to remember that you don't know how high-strung people are. They're very high-strung. You want to test this theory out? Go out into public and go mean mug somebody and watch what happens. 9 times out of 10, they're going to go, "What the F are you looking at? You got a problem, buddy?" 9 times out of 10. Whereas in a chill society where inflation is low, people are doing okay, that person's going to turn around. They're going to act like they don't even care, But really, go mean mug somebody and see what happens. It is, this society we're in right now is a step above a powder keg. It's a volcano at the penultimate moment before the eruption happens. All that lava, all that magma is just underneath the surface. You could see it brimming. And it's just waiting to exit that freaking geographic blowhole. That's where we're at right now in 2025. That blowhole is ready to blow. There's some serious pus, some serious, socially backed up pus that needs to come out. That's why you see things pop off so much, either online or in real life in public, because people have no tolerance anymore. I mean, you look at somebody accidentally, no tolerance. You accidentally cut somebody off in traffic or somebody cuts you, there's no tolerance. There's no, "Hey man, you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "All right, man, well, water under the bridge. Have a good day." That doesn't happen anymore. Now it's all of a sudden, before you know it, that person wants to fight. Maybe they got a weapon. Maybe, all of a sudden, before you know it, things get real. So, I mean, that's why, this is news to nobody, but you just got to watch out nowadays. You have no clue what people are capable of, man. And it's not even the people who look like they're thugged out or whatever, who are capable of, throwing down or unleashing their crazy, It's anybody. I mean, I saw a video on YouTube the other day about, it was a younger girl, not young, still an adult, but she was small, little boned, meek looking. And she was flipping her gourd over God knows what. And, even a tiny person, if they get angry enough, they can really represent a danger to people, So I like looking up these stories, man. I remember, this is years ago. I remember there was people used to do that gallon milk challenge, right? Where they'd try to see if they could down a gallon of milk and without throwing up. And so there were a group of guys who had got together in the park, and they each had a gallon of milk to do this challenge. But one of the dudes, he had a can or like a 2-liter bottle of, where I'm from, we call it pop, but you probably call it soda, so we'll call it soda. He had a 2-liter thing of soda. And so before they did this experiment, everybody shook up their milk. The guy shook up the soda. I don't know what the hell he was thinking. What happened is, as they all took the cap off of their gallon of milk or the 2 liters of soda, the guy started drinking their milk. The guy took the cap off of the 2-liter bottle of soda that he had shook, and the cap flew up and hit him in the eye. He ended up losing his eye. Can you imagine? You're about to do some stupid, like, drink a 2-liter thing of soda real quick and see if you don't throw up. One of those challenges with your buddies, and you shake it up like a dumbass, and you open it, and it just poof, pressurizes right into your eye, and you lose your eye. I mean, imagine having to live the rest of your life on Earth knowing that you lost an eye for just the dumbest of reasons. And it can all happen like that, lickety-split. Your life can completely change. I was talking to a friend, well, not really a friend, kind of an acquaintance, and he told me a story. About 25 years ago, he was with his dad up in New Hampshire, and he was, or Vermont rather, and he was on his way to a drum lesson. He's a drummer. He was in high school at the time. He had just got accepted to go to a music college or conservatory. He's brimming. His life is looking bright. So they're on the way to the drum lesson. It's the winter. There's been a little bit of snow, a little bit of ice on the road. The traction on their little Ford Fiesta or whatever it was starts getting a little wonky. And so the dad is like, I don't know if we should go to your lesson, man. Like, I think we might want to call out on this one. But the boy goes, no, Dad, I really need to go to this lesson. Like, we're working on some serious stuff. I really need to do this lesson, And so the dad goes, okay. So they take a hairpin turn, or not a hairpin turn, just a bend in the road or whatever. Hilly roads in New England, you know what they are. They end up hitting a patch of black ice. The vehicle starts spinning. The dad makes the mistake. Instead of leaning into the turn or whatever, or leaning into the spin, he ends up braking, and that causes even more erratic spinning. They end up flying out into, in the car, into like a drainage ditch, a culvert, whatever it is. And they appear to be pinned in the car. Thankfully, the guy I know, he was a kid at the time, he had his drumsticks in his lap. And so he was able to take his drumsticks and beat on the window, his passenger side window. He was able to get out and climb out with minor injuries and then pull his dad out. And they had minor injuries. They went to the hospital, of course. A Good Samaritan had stopped and called the cops and paramedics and all that. And they were both able to walk out of the emergency room, walk out of the hospital that night. Case in point, the moral of the story is you have no clue what's in store for you. So don't tempt God and don't tempt fate and don't force the head honcho's hand, because if you do that too much, you might end up having an instance like that. And that isn't fun for anybody. But I remember, he had told me that story in the past, and he had told it to me again today, because I guess it was the anniversary of that 25 years ago. And I said, damn, man, think about that. You almost lost your life, and then literally like less than a year later, 9/11 happened. It's like, phew, way to get shook up. But, yeah, I like those stories. It just reminds you that you got to watch what you say to people. You got to watch your bearings in public. You got to get a bead. You got to get a read on people in public to make sure that you're not going to be putting yourself in harm's way. Because even if you're not erratic, you can't control if other people are going to be erratic or not. Or if they're going to be irascible, if they're going to be prone to temper tantrums and violence, or like, how many videos do you see online where a situation that could have been solved peaceably ends up escalating? Somebody takes out a firearm and, oh my God. I remember last year there was that story of a woman, she had been divorced and she had a new boyfriend, and they had her and her ex-husband, they had joint custody of the child. So half the time of the dad's, half the time of the mom's. And every time she would go to her ex-husband's to go pick up the child for her visitation, her boyfriend would come with her. And there was that last time where the boyfriend came and the husband was just in a bad mood. The boyfriend was not having it, so he started talking that talk. He actually kind of got up in the ex-husband's face. The ex-husband produced a shoddy, and well, before you know it, that man, the boyfriend's face, probably looked like the bottom of a pizza box, after the Super Bowl party, It's like, it wasn't good, and it didn't have to go there. They say that the graveyard is filled with tough guys, and I don't see any falsehood in that. I think it's true. The graveyard is filled with tough guys. The graveyard's filled with people with false bravado, people who are fronting, stunting, acting like they're more than they really are. And that fronting and that stunting gets them, impounded in planet Earth for all of eternity. So you just never know. I've known plenty of people in my life who got their butt handed to them because they just didn't know when to close their mouth. They said the wrong thing to the wrong person. They weren't aware of their surroundings or their environs, where they were, maybe wearing the wrong color in the wrong part of town, and things happen. And before you know it, now your life story is a small little blurb in the obituary page in your little rinky-dink town newspaper. It all comes down to that. That's no way to go. It's no way to go. I think one of the places where you can really see this a lot nowadays, you go shopping, go to Walmart, say Friday night, Saturday night, where all the Walmartians are out, all the different types of people, and you just feel the stress, the anxiety. You feel the tension between people, the mistrust, the distrust, just like the lack of camaraderie, the lack of understanding that you're part of the same species, and you really shouldn't be feeling this type of animosity. But you feel that, and you feel that thick atmosphere of low-key hate, when you're in public in places like Walmart or whatever. And it tells you, wow, if this is like this right now, imagine what it's going to be like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years, 100 years from now. The level, the degree of palpability of the potential for violence and outright, just like uprising of people over nothing. Like you've all heard those stories of Popeye's chicken runs out of chicken. They had a special promotion where you could get, buy one, get one free with a bucket of chicken and, some biscuits or whatever. And they run out. And certain type of people, if you catch my drift, are at the chicken spot and they're not taking that answer that the chicken has run out. And so they're very angry about that. And then before you know it, Popeye's chicken is no more because they torch the place or whatever. Or they end up, destroying it. So, it's like the saying, this is why we can't have nice things. Sure. I mean, this is why we can't have a nice society. To forget nice things. That's why we can't have a nice society. People just don't know how to handle the vicissitudes of life. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, sometimes you're in the middle. You're kind of laying flat. You're not good, you're not bad. People don't know how to deal with that, because of TV and movies and Instagram and social media and the media. Everybody wants to be up all the time. And, nobody's naturally up all the time. And so when you're not up, you start fronting to other people. And sometimes when you're down real bad, you start fronting to yourself. And then that's no good. But at any rate, there's, in 2025, there's a deficit of truth-telling. Not just people telling falsehoods to other people, but there's a deficit of truth-telling to yourself. There's a lot of people who just aren't being truthful to themselves, and that's why everything's at cross purposes in this life, man. Everything's just, everybody's at each other's neck, whether they are literally or figuratively, or It's one of those situations where everything's fine, but you can tell there's a lot of tension in the air and something might snap, somebody might snap, you know. It's just that's the vibe in 2025. That's the vibe. It's like it's a freaking powder keg, man. Like I don't know if any of you ever were in like Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts, you're at a camping trip, you got some of that Jiffy Pop. You know what I mean? Jiffy Pop, like it's a little tin and you put it on the fire and pop, 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 it sounds like a machine pew pew, but it's the popcorn popping. That's kind of how I see um like how society is right now. It's just a freaking powder keg, man. It's just waiting to burst. And so if you're really smart about taking care of yourself and being safe, you recognize that it's probably best to be very adroit with your movements when you're in public and just being very nimble, not calling attention to yourself, not acting like you're like a big thug, you know, and just being chill. You know, you talk to people who I've said this before, you talk to people who have been to jail or prison before, and they'll always tell you that prisoners who know what side their bread is buttered on will always tell you, you know, that they're very polite. Please, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. That's the holy trinity of staying alive in prison. I don't know, I've never been to prison, but that's the holy trinity is please, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. You know, the ability to be polite, to have civility. And you think about it, a lot of people are in prison because, well, they have a chip on their shoulder because nobody treated them with respect. So that they overdo it in prison. Well, with this powder cake society we live in right now, I would remind people that right now in 2025, it's a good time to start flexing those please, thank you, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, pardon my reach. It's a great time to relearn how to say those words and have them at the ready, man. Because when shit's about to go down, that can really diffuse things. Like just saying, oh, I'm sorry, man, I didn't see you there. You know, you ever had that happen before? You accidentally bump into somebody and they look at you like they're gonna swing on you, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I didn't see you, brother. Have a great day. My apologies, you know? My apologies. Just saying 2 words can keep you from getting your butt kicked, you know? I mean, it's pride that keeps people from saying these words. Please, thank you, I'm sorry, my apologies, excuse me, pardon me. I mean, these are the keys. Like, those words are the keys to the castle for, like, getting through life alive, you know? Like, not having somebody try to bury you, bury you alive, or like, unalive you in public because you accidentally looked at them or whatever, you know? That's the keys. It's simple. I mean, if you want to know how to stay alive, like how to live your natural life and not be like part of like a fatality that didn't have to happen, that's it. Please, thank you, excuse me, pardon me, I'm sorry, my apologies. That's all you need to know. And you're going to live out the natural duration of your life. If you liked the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, and thesoftspokenshaman@gmail.com is the place to hit me up. If you've got questions, you want to chat, you want to read my books, that's where to hit me up. Y'all have a great Friday night. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll probably go live. Oh, well, I got some money on some football games tomorrow, so I'm probably not going to be going live tomorrow, but maybe Sunday.